of the Master, and this week we're going to talk about the last day of Yeshua. The last day of Yeshua. The words of the Master, when we talk about all of the things that Yeshua said and the times, situations that caused him to speak. If we look over at, we're going to look at today Matthew 26, 17 through 20. We're going to look at Mark 14, 12 through 17. We'll probably jump back and forth. We're not going to read through all of it. And also Luke, I think for the most part, we're going to look at Luke. We're going to look at Luke 22, 7 through 16, and then also Luke 22, 24 and 30, 24 through 30. So I think for the most part, we'll read Luke. We'll read these versions that we see in Luke. We'll refer back to Mark and Matthew because there's some slight variations. But we'll concentrate on Luke's version. So let's look over to Luke 22, and we'll read from verse 7 through 16.
Okay. Luke 22, verse 7. And the day of unleavened bread came, when the Passover had to be slaughtered. And he said to Peter and John, saying, Go and prepare the Pesach for us to eat. And they said to him, Where do you wish us to prepare? And he said to them, See, as you enter into a city, a man shall meet you carrying a jar of water. Follow him into the house he enters. And you shall say to the master of the house, The teacher says to you, Where is the guest room where I might eat the Passover with my taught ones? And he shall show you a large furnished upper room. Prepare it there. And going, they found it as he had said to them, and they prepared the Pesach. And when the hour had come, he sat down, and the 12 emissaries with him. He said to them, With desire I have desired to eat this Pesach with you before my suffering. For I say to you, I shall certainly not eat of it again until it is fulfilled in the reign of Elohim.
Okay, very good. And I want to just add to that. Let me see. That's verse 7. I want to add to that Matthew 26 and 17.
Just the one verse?
Yep, just one verse.
Matthew 26 and 17. And on the first day of unleavened bread, the top ones came to Yeshua, saying to him, Where do you wish us to prepare for you to eat the Pesach?
Okay, very good. So we see over here on what we're saying here as Yeshua's last day, the disciples, to them, I don't want to say it's just another day, but they, just like any other time that we see the disciples in their interactions with Messiah, no matter how much he reminds them of how near they are to his physical end, they don't seem to really comprehend the closeness that they are to his physical end. But I think that, when we look at this, there's some interesting things that I wanted to talk about, because I think that there is some confusion as it relates to when this actually is. And I think that because of kind of the fact that we are kind of disconnected, we touched on this, as we were just talking earlier, when we look at things in the scriptures, if we think about them with our 25 eyes, we think about it in a way that's foreign, actually, to the people that was actually, both writing these words and experiencing them. Those two things aren't always the same. So it's interesting when we compare, for instance, Matthew 26 and 17, where it said that this was the first day of unleavened bread. It literally said here that it is the first day of unleavened bread, and yet the disciples here, Yeshua is saying to them, we need to prepare for Passover. How many know that if it's the first day of unleavened bread, it's late? It's kind of late to be just now preparing.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that, but if we, I just want to say that. But adding to that, and we look in Luke, where we're kind of going to stay around in Luke 22, if we go back to Luke 22 and verse 7, now something else is mentioned. Now this is the same account. I mean, it's the same situation, different accounts. This is Luke. That was Matthew. Matthew says it's the first day of unleavened bread. Luke said, and the day of unleavened bread, as if, I guess you could say, basically maybe it's saying the same thing, is the day. If there is a day of unleavened bread, I wonder what that day is, if there's a day of unleavened bread. But he said, and the day of unleavened bread came when the Pesach had to be slaughtered. And so again, the Passover lamb, the thing that was slaughtered, wasn't slaughtered on the first day of unleavened bread. And so why are they saying these things here? What do they mean? I'm saying there's nothing wrong with them saying these things here if you understand the time. If you go back and understand from a historical standpoint what they're talking about. Well, first of all, let's go to Leviticus, because we need to find out when is the first day of unleavened bread, and when do you slaughter the lamb? Let's go back to Leviticus. Let's go back to Exodus. Let's go back to Exodus 12. And let's see here. Let's go to start reading at verse 3.
Exodus 12 and 3. And all the congregation of Israel speak unto all the congregation of children of Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb according to the house of his father, a lamb for his household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the beings. According to each man's need, you make your count for the lamb. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year old. Take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slay it between the evenings. And they shall take some of the blood.
Sorry, that's good. Verse 6 is perfect. Okay, so you got the lamb on the 10th day. You held that lamb all the way up until the 14th day of the same new moon that day. And then on that day, you killed it. So at night, when the death angel came, you had already killed it and had your blood on the doorpost to save your firstborn from the death angel. And so the 14th day is when you killed the lamb. In the daytime, you did it at the daytime on the 14th. And then when it became nighttime, it's not even the 14th anymore, it's the 15th now. And so, if we go back to the New Testament, to Luke, where he said the day of unleavened bread, when the Pesach had to be slaughtered, this isn't kind of technically what he's talking about here. Because they wasn't slaughtering no lambs on the 15th day of unleavened bread. You slaughtered the lamb on Passover, which is slightly before the day of unleavened bread. But I think the difference is that, I mean, for lack of a better example, you know, it's at Christmas time, you give out gifts. It's talking about the season when you do a particular thing, not necessarily the precise exact time when you do it. We're able to see when we look over here in Luke and in Matthew and in Mark, by the way. Mark gives you this general time, but the specifics don't line up with what the Torah prescribes in terms of, you know, when this is happening. And so why then is it saying it like this? It seems strange to us because we see first day of unleavened bread. Oh, that's the 15th. That's the 14th at even. What is he talking about? But when they were slaughtering, in Mark it says the same thing as it says in Luke, when they were slaughtering the Pesach. On the Mark is even different. Mark 14 and 12 says it literally says the first day of unleavened bread when they were slaughtering the Passover lamb. They didn't slaughter the lamb on the 15th, on the first day of unleavened bread.
Yeah.
That's not when the scriptures say it. Now, and so if we're looking at this and thinking that this is that literal timing, I feel like we're not understanding what's being spoken of right here. And so we have the fact that when we go back to the Torah, the first day of unleavened bread is not the day when the Passover lamb is slain. When we look at these examples over here in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where they're giving you this kind of everything all at once, and we know that there is a kind of I don't want to say a distinction, but there is kind of a separation in time between what Pesach is, literally what Passover is, and what Feast of Unleavened Bread is. Pesach basically is the preparation for Feast of Unleavened Bread, but at the time they kind of group everything together and call it one or the other, actually. And we do it now. We say Passover and we mean the whole thing. Or you could say Feast of Unleavened Bread and actually mean the whole thing. And so it's interesting when we look at Yeshua, if we go back to Luke, when we look at Yeshua here, when Luke is telling you this time period which they're in, and during that time period, he's having his disciples go and get ready for something that, if we think about this from a literal standpoint, it already started. You didn't even, like, you missed the preparation time if it's literally the first day of unleavened bread. You've missed the preparation time. And so I'm saying that I think we have to think about this differently and not actually, as far as timing is concerned, what this is saying. What's your question?
Luke chapter 22, verse 1.
Let me just read it.
Hold on. Verse 1, 22 and 1. Oh, you want to read that? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Luke 22 and 1. And the festival of Matzot drew near, which is called Pesach.
Like you were saying, they're interchangeable. Sometimes they can call the whole thing unleavened bread. Sometimes they can call the whole feast Pesach.
Yeah.
But chapter 22, verse 1 gives us what's technically going on to let us know that it's still the 14th and it's not the 15th.
Okay. All right, but I'm taking it even further than what you saying. I'm saying that it's not even the 14th yet.
No, because it says it's going to prepare.
I'm saying that's where we're at. If he's getting ready,
Right,
it's not even the 14th yet.
right.
But I'm not just saying it just to be saying that. If we go back now to the historical aspects, which I think is a necessary thing, for us to go back to the historical. At this time, and, you know, by the way, Yeshua, he does so many things that looks, as much as he talks about the Pharisees, he does so many things just like them. Sometimes he don't be like them, but a lot of the times he's like them. I think that my thought on the matter is that he has so much to say to them, because why would he care about something like, if somebody's off, I don't care. My kids, I need my kids to be doing a certain specific thing. Somebody else's kid, for the most part, I can't dictate what other people's kids is doing. I'm going to be harsher on my own than somebody who's outside. I think that there's a level of familiarity and similarity with the Pharisees, with Yeshua. In fact, he tells the disciples, these people, they sit in the seat of Moses. You do what they say, not what they do. I mean, what they do, not what they say. No, he said, do what they say. He said, what they say, not what they do, because they don't even do what they say. But he bigs them up. And then when he's done bigging them up, he talks about all the things that's wrong with them. But if there wasn't a reason for him to care, like, why would he? Yeshua basically was a Pharisee. I'm just gonna say it. I jumped all the way out and just said it. He basically is a Pharisee, with some slight variations. He's more Pharisee than he is a Sadducee. He's more Pharisee than he is any other thing. The nation as a whole, the people, you talk about what the people are doing, the people basically were doing what the Pharisees were doing. In the temple, those was the Pharisees. They had that part together. But Pharisees was with the people. And so, again, if we look from a historical standpoint, what they actually were doing, and you can look at this from a historical record, shows that the day before, they have this tradition that was a thing that they did in this Second Temple era. It goes back all the way that far in the Second Temple era, the time of Yeshua, that they on the 13th of the month, at going into the dark part. And so the end of the 13th, where they would, like on that day, they would get rid of the leaven from their house. But they had this thing that they would do, that they would not only want to get the leaven out of their house, but they wanted to search for the leaven with, by candlelight and find it. So they would begin their clean out on the day part, but it will go into the night part, to the beginning of the 14th, I'll say the beginning, which is at night, to look for this leaven in the house. And so this was so much of a tradition that they basically tacked that on to the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So this preparation that they would do, where they would at night find the leaven, put it in a bag, and in the morning burn it. Similarly to how they did with the lamb, where you cooked the lamb and ate the lamb, and whatever was left over was burned in the morning. It's kind of that same kind of a thing, but they was doing it with the bread that they would find in their house. They was doing this on the day before Passover. And so if that's the thought process, if that's the national thought process of this is what they do, and they had this extra time that they would tack on to it, when you have these writers here talking about the first day of unleavened bread, now it could make sense. Because if you're talking about that time that they did this thing, now it makes sense to be preparing right now for the Passover, because it's literally before the actual Passover time is happening. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. So if we go back to Mark. If we go back to Mark, and we see again, just to make a note, because there's more things that happen on Yeshua's last day in regards to the Passover. We're going to talk about more of it probably later, because we're only talking about this beginning parts. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that I think that when we look at what's being said over here, this first day of unleavened bread isn't the first day proper of unleavened bread, but it's the first day of how the feast in its totality was reckoned at the time, including that preparation time of actually removing the leaven. But I wanted to keep on going, because when we look over here at, again, well, let me just say that thinking about the timing of Yeshua's death, and the emphasis that exists because of Yeshua, who Yeshua is as the Lamb of Elohim, Yeshua, to him, you know, he's within himself is preparing himself for something that's, you know, this is a Mount Sinai moment. This is a earth altering situation that's about to happen. But the disciples, to them, it's just regular almost. Like this is what they do every year to get ready for Passover. Oh, you want us to go find a place for us to keep the Passover? All right, let's go. We'll go over. And he tells them this thing that's kind of, you'll go and you'll see a man and he's carrying this and ask him that. And to them, I'm not sure if they're actually seeing the severity of the situation. I think they're absolutely not seeing the severity, but I think that what we get, one thing that we gain from all of this that's going on is understanding that the Passover is at hand. They're getting ready for the Passover. Yeshua himself is getting ready to go and die. He's getting ready to go and die. And in the midst of all of this, something happens. Something happens that kind of shifts the atmosphere with his disciples. Let's go back to Luke. Let's go back to Luke in 22. And let's go to 24 and go down to 30. 24 down to 30.
It says, and there also took place a dispute among them as to which of them seemed to be greater. And he said to them, the sovereigns of the nations rule over them, and those who control them are called workers of good. But not so with you, but let him who is greatest among you be the youngest, and leader as one who serves. For who is greater, the one who sits at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at the table? But I am in your midst as one who serves. But you are those who have remained with me in my trials, and my covenant for you, as my Father covenanted me, for me, I reign to eat and drink at my table, in my reign, and to sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay, very good. So again, the disciples at this point, they've gone, they found a place, they prepared it for what they're about to do. They have everything ready. Nighttime happens, and then they begin to do what they came there to do. Yeshua's kind of like in this mode here where he's about to start talking to them about the new covenant, and somehow the disciples get back into this thing of who among us is greater. Sometimes I when I look at Yeshua, I sometimes don't understand how, well, I do understand. I'm just kind of rhetorically saying I don't understand how he's so understanding with these gentlemen. Like, even if they don't know that he's about to die, like they're doing this other thing. Why are you talking about who's the greatest among you?
That was men, though.
I mean, but there's a time and a place
That's men,
for
though.
everything.
Well, you get men to the side. These men that's in the sports, you talk about how great this man is over here, this team over that team. It's kind of just because you're always with him too. So that's probably they sitting down eating and they like, You think I'm gonna be greater than you, or
Did-
like we do? Because we doing this for something. I wonder how great I'm gonna be. I'm just putting my
it's
relating
it's somewhat unbelievable to me how they could get so far off track, because there really is an importance to the thing that they're doing, and somehow they get sidetracked into this other thing. It's interesting that when they have this conversation, I think it's more interesting when you think about what Yeshua's response is to this thing. It's almost like he like glances over it and just goes down past it almost, and tells them kind of that you'll all kind of be great, basically. You'll all sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. I guess he don't really answer the question, but he does have this thing about the greater that serves, right? The greater that serves. His whole life kind of lives this existence of the greater that serves. The people not always understanding, because they don't have a full understanding of who Yeshua is. They kind of think that he's kind of this lowly, regular guy, not really understanding who all the way Yeshua is. But in all actuality, when we think about this idea of him, being kind of, look in Colossians when it talks about the fact that all things that was made, it was from Yeshua. When we think about the fact that Yeshua is Elohim, we think about the fact that when Yeshua speaks to the Father a little bit later and talks about restoring the glory that he had when he was with the Father back to him again, when we think about all of these things about who Yeshua is and understand the fact that he comes down, and not only comes down, but he brings himself in terms of stature down. He causes, as the greatness that he is, he causes himself to be a servant, where he should in fact be the one that is being served. And so a characteristic that we learn from Yeshua is this idea of the greater serving. The greater serving. It's interesting when you look at some of the rabbinic writings, when they talk about this concept of the greater serving the lesser. When we read, for instance, Genesis 18, we read Genesis 18, at least me, I don't want to say we, I don't know how you think about it. I think Abraham knows he's dealing with the Most High when the three people come to visit him at the tent. I think he knows who he's seeing. And that's why he acts the way that he acts. However, the rabbinic thought is that he doesn't know that that's the Most High, and he thinks that it's just some people, some nomads that are visiting him. And so they talk about the fact that he, in fact, is greater. This is their understanding of what he's doing. I'm just giving you that. Not that I think that he knew who he was, but I'm saying that their thought process of this idea of the greater serving the lesser, a great thought process from the rabbinic perspective is that he thought that he was dealing with people who would be actually lesser than himself. But the way that he treats them, he's treating them as if they're greater. Where he stops everything. He's in the, we see. Well, we put it in our minds that he just was circumcised and he's healing. I don't know if that actually if it's actually that time frame is actually happening, but we oftentimes think about the fact that he's healing from his self-circumcision, and Most High comes at this opportune time. But if you thought that these were random people with Abraham in the same situation, the way that he acts, they argue, was as him the greater serving the lesser. But as a counter to that thought process, another thought process says that there is a greater example than Abraham serving these people that come to visit him, but the fact that the Most High is constantly in the process of sustaining his creation. Not simply that he put a ball in motion and the thing, creation is just existing within itself, but he's literally causing sustenance actively to happen as it's happening. And so the creator is literally serving his creation, providing for his creation, making all of the provisions for the things that he created. Instead of saying, just I set everything up, now you go ahead and do what you got to do. Go ahead.
Yeah. I would say that the verse that reference verse would be one of them would be, "He that watches Israel never slumbers nor sleeps." He literally is ever at hand, paying attention and to his people. The servant, normally the servant is the one that stands at guard watching over their bosses, we say bosses, but masters' house and possessions. But when we think about Israel, it's the Most High Himself that's standing watch over His people. So it's not like us standing watch over Him, which would be the normal human way of thinking about it, but it's Him standing watch over us.
Yes. So he has the ultimate example of the greater serving the lesser. But we get everything in our carnal minds and our earthly thinking, we get that whole thing reversed. If I'm the greater, I'm supposed to be just sitting back. Yes, yes, I would like just thank you very much. Can you go ahead and get me so and so? And yes. Right? But it's reverse. And so the closer we get to understanding the character of the Most High, the better understanding we have about this whole idea. The disciples, they spent all this time with Messiah. This is a part that they didn't get yet. Because if they can't understand who Yeshua is from a spiritual standpoint, at minimum, they should be able to understand that He's greater than them. At very least, they should understand that. They don't gotta put Him in the place of Elohim or whatever. at bare minimum, they should have that, to the point where in his presence, well, let's not get into which one of us is greater than the other.
Well, let me ask something. I think the key word that's missing in all this is humility. Because when the Most High don't like someone, or that has pride, that pride. You can't have pride and humility at the same time.
No.
And so, humility means you debasing yourself, or not thinking of yourself as greater than what you are.
You can't be excited about your level of humility.
I don't know how you do that. You can't. It's like an oxymoron. It's like it is what it is. But yeah, that they didn't have the humility.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing. Like even when we come to the Most High, when we come to this walk, you gotta debase yourself
Yeah.
to accept what He has for you.
Yeah.
You want to say something?
Question. I had a question. Did the master already have prepared a leader already, even though he humbled himself amongst his servants? Did he already choose a leader like?
Oh, you mean between the
Yeah,
disciples? You mean?
Yeah. Did he already choose one, just like Yahweh chose David? Was he already had one prepped, even though Israel already wanted the king for themselves? He already knew how it was going to go, but he allowed them to see their faults. But he chose a right king. So did Yahshua already have a leader picked like how he chose Moses?
I think that with what Yeshua's answer is, they go back and forth about who is the greatest. At the end of the day, he says, "You'll all in my kingdom sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes." So he don't really answer them. When we see the way that the disciples kind of come together, there's basically a top 3 disciples. There's 12 disciples. There's basically a top 3. If you talk to John, he probably says he's the best. Right? He's the beloved. He's the beloved disciple. John is, right? To me, when I look at it, I feel like Peter's really the guy.
Yeah, Peter.
To me, Peter's the guy. But Yeshua don't never say like, you know what I mean, you're the best. He won't give them that, I think, on purpose. But I think that the idea here is to cause them not to be thinking in that way anyway, because it's an irrelevant kind of a thing. I was saying mostly because of the timing that, Yeshua's on track. He's about to talk to them about this new covenant and the thing that he's bringing into enactment, and now he's got to bring them back into the right mind frame because they went off. But the thought process is that when we're thinking about things truly from a spiritual place, in a place that mimics our Creator, the greater serve the lesser until kind of that carnality, that ego thing happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost natural. It's almost natural. We almost innately do it. Because, you know, I'm greater than my kids. I'm greater than my kids. But I serve them. Until they get so old that they're in their minds, they want to do for themselves by hook or by somebody that used to know, by hook or crook, whether it's good for them or not. I remember I just wanted to just be free. I just wanted to be free from all the things that bind me. I probably should have just chilled and just stayed back a little while longer. It probably would have did me good, but I wanted to be free. I wanted to be my own thing. It almost takes something to just be served. People try to do things like, no, I don't need that. No, like somebody try to do something nice for you, that's okay. You don't have to. That's your ego and pride and inside of you that's stopping you from doing it. Yeah, by all means, yes, thank you very much. I'll take that. Right? But you got to move yourself out of the way. And I'm saying almost, you know, the Most High created us in His image. And His image is He didn't create this thing that He wants to care for. He creates this garden, put the people in it. He made everything perfect for them. The man, I put this woman in there too with him, so that everything could just be perfect. Right? He's serving His creation. That's what you do in the image of, you serve the lesson.
Yep.
When He set up the nation that if there's poor or elders, old people, or orphans or widows and things, of people who can't take care of themselves, you're in a greater position. You serve them. You make sure they got what they need. It's like built into the Most High in His character. And so when the disciples, again, at this time where they're supposed to be thinking about what's about to happen, they sit up here and start talking about this thing over here. Yeshua has to take a pause and bring everything back, because this is, you know, it's a thing that we, you know, is part of kind of our transformation back to the thing that we're supposed to be. Like Yeshua has to go, and He had to live and die and go back to the Father so that we could get the Spirit inside of us, so that we're able to truly walk out His character, because of the place that we're in. Because of sin, it causes us to just not be like Him anymore in so many ways. And so when we look at the disciples, who, again, we kind of talked about this with Judas to a degree, like he was way off. Judas was way off in his kind of carnality that he was in. But this is like unto that, to where they're around the Master so much, you would think osmosis will kick in at some point where they will exhibit more of these characteristics, when in fact, you know, they don't. But I want to look at let's look at a couple of things. Let's go over to Psalms 145 and 15 and 16.
145. 15 and 16. Psalm 145:15. It says, "The eyes of all look to you expectantly, and you are giving them their food in its season. Open your hand and satisfy the desire of all that live."
When we look at the actions of the Most High, He's serving us. The Most High is. When we talk about Paul, when he talks about this idea of our reasonable worship, our reasonable worship is for us to turn back around and serve him back, because he's been already serving us.
Sure.
So it's only right for you to just turn right back around and then serve him back, because he's been keeping you. No matter how much you want to think, well, it's because I'm this or that, and I've made these various accomplishments, and I've done this for myself and that, or whatever. It's only because the Most High has put you in that situation to allow you to be able to do it. He served you in a way that benefits you in allowing you to do these things. And so it's only right for you to serve him back.
Someone says, I get up and go to work every day.
Do I say that?
No.
Oh,
Well, you say that about wanting some name brand ketchup in the house.
okay. Okay, very good.
You don't want that Aldi brand.
No, that's right. That's right. But the point here is that the fact that we don't think about the fact that the Most High, who's greater, is actually serving us. Look at Hebrews 1 and 3.
Hebrews 1 and 3. "Who being the brightness of the esteem and the exact representation of his substance, and sustaining all by the word of his power, having made a cleansing of our sins through himself, sat down at the right hand of the greatness on high."
Okay, he sustains all by the words of his power. He's constantly making a way for us to be able to be. That's a fact. And so it's the ultimate show of the greater serving the lesser.
Yep.
We're never in a place where there's things that we are owed or that that we deserve from the Most High. He, out of his goodness, decides to bestow blessing upon us, which is the greater serving the lesser. And so again, when we look at the disciples and this dispute that they're having, it helps us to understand, first of all, the fact that it's so necessary for what's about to happen to actually happen. So that it's so interesting when you look at the disciples, because it's almost night and day when we look at where they are post Holy Spirit and where they are after, pre and post. The way that they behave, the difference, the maturation that happens as a result of the Spirit coming and dwelling on the inside of them. I mean, when you think about it, Peter in Acts chapter 2, what is like a month and some days past him sitting up here saying the biggest lie that he ever could have said. But in just 40 days, 50 days later, he's saying these foundational things and he's transforming lives based off the words that's coming out of him from the Ruach HaKodesh that's inside of him. He's a brand new person 50 days later. They all had to be like coerced to go out and do this or that and encouraged. Like Yeshua's like, go out here and 2 by 2. You gotta go with each other so that y'all can keep each other edified and all this, and go out here and do some miracles or whatever. But just that short amount of time, but they was transformed by the Spirit. And so I just wanted to kind of just, there's more to talk about with Yeshua's last day, but as kind of the beginning of his last day kind of gets into motion, it's interesting. Again, we look at the disciples and they're having this situation. But it's a perfect situation for us to be able to understand. Yeshua goes more into this idea of the greater serving the lesser again. I think it's probably right after this when he does the foot washing thing, where Peter's, there's so many instances, I guess throughout the whole scriptures, we can look at those in close proximity to the Spirit of the Most High. But until that Spirit gets inside is the only time that you see that real transformation. Right. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about this idea here that, we sit in a favorable position, those who have made the decision to follow after the Most High and to do His will and live a life that exemplifies those who have the desire to walk in righteousness, but it's not some elite club that we belong to, that this place that we've risen to, where we're so much more than those who haven't made the decision.
Yeah.
Because we've made a decision that in fact gives us a degree of greatness.
Yeah.
We've made a decision that gives us a degree of greatness. But besides the fact that greatness is not really of our own self, doesn't change the fact that it puts us in a situation where now that we've been served by the great servant, now it comes even more necessary for us to be servants, and not just to bask in the greatness. And so I think that's kind of the main thing that we see with Yeshua. It's not about who's going to be greater. It's about the fact that you're even going to be in this kingdom, and there's going to be some things that you'll be able to enjoy when you get over there. But you don't talk about who's going to be greater, because who cares, really?
Yeah.
Some people getting them by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, when I figured out that the disciples were in their 20s, their 20s, Peter was said to be the oldest, maybe in his early 30s, but he might even been in his 20s. And these were kids. And I know that, they had statutes, commandments that we today didn't have growing up. But when I was in my 20s and 30s, man, I was definitely in competition. You know what I'm saying? Full-fledged, like, I'm in competition with everybody around. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you understand that the disciples, they were like children. You should have treated them like children. You know, and they're always breaking things down like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So they were young after, after this going away, then that's when it seemed like the maturity kicked in. So, I kind of understand the mindset of them, in their early 20s, and I give them a pass. But they did mature.
Yeah. I think, talking about the things that they do, good or bad, I think to me, with all the people that we see in the scriptures, to me, I think it's important to not think about these people as superheroes and understand that they're regular people. I think that makes it more understanding that these are regular guys.
Yep.
And it's easy for us, we're on the outside, we're looking at this thing, we know the whole picture. Like, I can say whatever I want to say because I already know what's going to happen right after this. But they don't know. There's like a level of naivete that exists where, they don't have all of the information. And so it's totally, I agree with what you're saying, it's totally understandable, where they are. Totally understandable because, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
Just like in the Exodus, and when they came out of Egypt. Man, if the Exodus happened today in America, it'd be the same exact process. You know what I'm saying? It'd be the same. Our people, they fully ingratiated into, American culture and, good life. And, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I can see the same exact results. But there is, like, I have hope for, I see y'all the young sons and daughters, and I see how, of course, there's the children as well. There's a different standard that is being, brought forth in, the congregation and new awakening. I see different things in my day. So, I do see hope in the new generation.
Yeah. And I think the key thing here is that, as we just begin to be done here, I think the key thing here is the same end that it seems that Messiah is emphasizing, is the fact that when we seek to live a life that exemplifies the Most High, when we allow the Spirit inside of us to really cause us to behave like Him, it sets all things in order. The more we try to feed our flesh and appease our carnal appetites, the further we get from rightness. But the more we cause our flesh to die and we allow the characteristics of the Most High to flourish inside of us, humility, these things, and pride to be pushed down, the more we look like Messiah, and the more we look like new creations and not our old selves. All right. Does anybody have any last thoughts or questions or comments before we?
I was thinking about it when you were speaking, said the righteous man falls 7 times and he gets back up, and so in possibly saying things that shouldn't have been said or focusing on things that possibly shouldn't be focused on. You mentioned just a few weeks later, they were speaking in the spirit, they were ministering, they were changing lives. And for me, it brought about a sense of hope, that, the people in which we're ministering to, whether they be in our family or if they be on the street, you don't know what tomorrow is going to be for them. So speaking them, those words of faith, the word is not going forward. It can transform a life just like I felt night to day. So, the Holy Spirit, which dwells in us, gives us those words in which to say, and the Holy Spirit that can dwell in them can also transform other lives. So it was, very encouraging to look at that and just, meditate on it. We just don't know what tomorrow is going to be. So we just serve and do what the Father has us to do.
Yeah. Yes, I mean the Ruach HaKodesh is miraculous. It's miraculous when you look at these guys, is when you look at these fellas and the things that they just got finished doing and saying, and the things that they do changes the world forever.
Yeah.
And they just was fussing about who's greater than the other one. They literally just got finished doing it's foolishness.
Yeah.
But when you look and you see what the power of the Spirit does inside of you, that's what it does.
It does.
It take these regular guys and turn them into superheroes.
Yeah, there's a good example. There's this guy, like even in modern times, I forget, maybe the young people remember his name, Bunk Gang, something like that. But anyway, it was this young man, probably real early 20s, but he blew up on social media doing crazy things, like just inappropriate, crazy things, got tattoos all over his face, just didn't care about life. You remember that dude? Now, somebody spoke to him, and he the biggest, like the turn his whole platform of 1 million plus people, everything on there. Turn your life around. You gotta follow Yeshua. You need to do this and that. And it looked crazy seeing this dude with all these tattoos and all this stuff. But I'm like, the Spirit ain't no joke. Because you see how he lived before. Like this dude was just, you thought he'd be in jail or dead in no time. But he blew his platform up off of that. But somebody got to him, spoke to him, the Spirit is on him, and that's all. And he's like dead serious because he know that a lot of the people used to follow him as a young crowd. So now he's trying to get to this young crowd with his platform on how he changed his life, and that's all he talk about. Like, and he dead serious.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, the Spirit it's really powerful when you see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. All right. All right. That being said, this will be done for now. Y'all willing? We'll be back on next Shabbat to continue with the words of the Master and also the annual Torah portion. So for now, we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Like